Hello and welcome in. I am Miss Kinghorn and we are back here in the Red Lane Zoo, and we are working on, we're actually starting like phase 3 of the zoo, where we're going to create a habitat for the Spectacled Caiman. Now this is a long time coming. This should have been out last week, however there were a few issues in the fact that I really struggled, and in the end we had to come up with a video at quick notice, and so that's why we decided to do the eco tiny house last week instead of trying to do this. So originally this was going to be the flamingos. Originally there was going to be flamingos in here, and I could not get it to work. It just was not working for me, and I basically got quite late into the week and I still didn't have a video, and yeah, in the end we just had to change focus, work on the eco tiny home and come back to this. And I've got to be fair, this is also a tight one to get in because I have only just sort of finished this morning. I'm currently doing the voiceover on Monday. This goes out tomorrow. It's tight. So yeah. But I think I'm happy with it. It's to a point where I'm happy with it now, which I was not before. And anyone who knows me knows I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and if I'm not happy with it, it just will not go out. So yeah. In the end, this is what we've got in here. So this is for the Spectacled Caiman. We're kind of doing an indoor and an outdoor habitat for them. If you didn't see the thumbnail or the intro in there, I wanted quite a nice area for them. Now, this zoo is based in sort of South North America. So it's kind of in like Florida, kind of Texas, kind of that kind of area. So these animals can live obviously outside in there, and I really wanted a kind of a nice big open habitat for them. I have seen lots of people do them where it's just like an indoor habitat, and that's okay, but I felt like these animals could do with like an outdoor space. And also I didn't really want to make this too big, which I feel like I tend to do anyway. So doing like an indoor only habitat for them, it would just be huge, and yeah, not really what I wanted for this zoo in here. So to give you some kind of perspective of where this is, just behind me is the collared petrie and the wild boar habitat. So we did pretty much right back at the beginning of starting this zoo off. Yeah, so it's kind of semi near the front of the zoo. We've kind of gone back, having finished the sort of Cream Family Farm area, and we're now sort of working on a different kind of area. This is a phase 3, which is actually quite small because it only has like 3 habitats in it, but I feel like it's going to be a nice little area as a sort of a link to go from here to further back in the zoo as well. But that's sort of future plans. We're working on the indoor area here, and yeah, I noticed when we were building this that I didn't have enough toilets, and that was one of the things that guests were complaining about the most. So we do have a single toilet block in here for them to use, and then the other end is just sort of a staff kind of, just here by these doors is just sort of a bit of a staff area. It's basically just an open kind of section. I haven't placed anything too kind of obvious or like purposefully out there. There's no like food prep area, or there's no actual like staff building. It's just kind of basically a little area that's a little bit more private for them in here. The animals can't get to it. It's just really for the staff. But I'm also looking ahead at what kind of animals we've got coming up, and I feel like more detailed sort of backstage areas we will do at a later date in there. But the other thing that we were lacking for it comes to the guests is education. Now, I don't quite understand this, and it's a bit of a confusing one because every habitat that we have has at least 2 different types of education in them. So I always create 2 educational boards, one landscape, one portrait, and we have like more than one sort of portrait sort of educational board around the habitat. And then there is like the conservation boards and all of that. There's lots of educational stuff around the zoo. So I don't quite know why that was reading as like one of the lowest things. But talking of that, if anybody would like the sort of educational boards that I create, I can put them up on my Discord server. So I did it when we did our last zoo, which was the Twin Creek Zoo last year. I placed all of those up on my Discord server. And I can do that again. I haven't at the moment, mainly out of pure laziness that I just haven't got around to doing it. But if anyone does want them, let me know down in the comments, and yeah, I will see about getting them up onto my Discord server. You can also find the link to that in the description below as well, so you have links to that, and yeah, you can come and join me over there. And yeah, we are finishing off really the guest point of view here. So I wanted something to stop people from like tapping on the glass. I feel like that would be like super irritating for like the animals and other people. So I kind of put these sort of wire kind of like metal rods along the bottom of the glass here, just to give the animals or the people a separation from the glass, because I'm sure the animals don't particularly like it. And you can put signs in that say like don't touch the glass, don't feed it doesn't really work. I have to be honest, it doesn't really work in real life or in the game, so I figured we would just place those there to give it a little bit more sort of cover and stuff like that. But we've jumped in to the animal point of view for this here. Now I have used a two-way glass here. I don't think it's too much of a problem because I feel like this is never going to be busy enough that the animals would get stressed seeing people. So yeah, I also did want to make this one of the main areas to see the animals, and you'll sort of see when we come out later on how few viewing areas I created, and that's because I want people to actually come into this building to see them. But yeah, we're creating a kind of a rock wall all the way along here. Now the kind of concrete is a bit boring, it's a bit bland, and I thought I want something kind of a little bit different in here. I didn't really want to use like the stellar type walls that I would normally use. I feel like I use those quite a lot. We use them on the outside, to be honest, but I figured for the main part of this here I would like to kind of create a 3D kind of rock wall area in here. So that is what we are working on, and then we come along and we place lots of sort of rock sort of plants and things like that, more baby rocks and stuff like that in here, just to kind of give it a little bit more depth, a little bit more detail coming through. And yeah, we'll see how all of this turns out. So yes, trying to add some texture detail kind of work into all of this, and to also make it just a little bit more interesting to look at, because obviously you're here for the animals, and they're kind of obviously the main draw, but you want them to have a nice kind of area to sort of be in. And yeah, that's kind of what we've done in here. And I have had to kind of create an extra outer wall. You will sort of see it in places, especially along the back section. There's now kind of like I think it's about 2 meter buffer, simply because some of the rocks were poking through and I couldn't move them forward because they would get in the way, so they had to come through, and I've just increased the size of the habitat, sort of, or the building, a little bit more. But then using the satellite walls that we have used in quite a few places around the zoo already, kind of a pre-planned kind of section. So I kind of created right at the very beginning sets of different fences and different areas that I really wanted to kind of use in here, and stalactite walls were definitely one of them, and like rock walls and things like that. Use them in here to kind of add in some planting and stuff to get them to sort of be raised up off the floor so they're not quite in the way, and again just to add a nice little bit of greenery and decoration to this indoor habitat. And yeah, that's what we are sort of trying to get through in here. So I wanted, especially the indoor area, so a lot of these are tropical plants, and I felt like because the indoor was going to be warmer, it would be like temperature controlled, you could have like the right amount of sort of rain, or like they would have all of that sort of thing in here. I felt like we could definitely use some more sort of plants that we would normally get in like the tropical rainforest and things like that for them. And then outside it's obviously a little bit different in here, but lots of sort of planting on the walls, lots of sort of rock work coming in, especially down here by the front, because there was kind of that little section where I couldn't smooth the terrain out anymore because the path was in the way, but then I couldn't delete the path because you just can't delete paths in this game. If the path goes wrong, it can be a little bit of a troublemaker to get back in place. So I ended up having this sort of buffer where it was all sort of zigzagged, and had to sort of place some of that down. But yeah, a couple of pieces of enrichment, and the only feeder that the keeper can actually get to is in here. So they can't get out to the outside feeders, which is a little bit of a shame, because I really wanted them to be able to, but the way I had created the habitat gate, it just would not work, and I couldn't do it any other way. So this is the only feeder in here for them. But yeah, they do actually have one. I think they can use the feeder that's out at the bottom of the pool. I think that still works, but yeah. Anyway, trying to get some vines coming on here. So I kind of looked at this and I thought we need something. It just didn't quite look quite right for me. So I decided we would put these sort of twisting, winding vines coming all across here, just to give it that really sort of jungly kind of look that I think this is sort of perfect for into here. And yeah, I'm happy with how this sort of indoor section here turns out. It was quite a fun one because I've not really done an indoor kind of habitat like this sort of before. I mean, I've done a couple where we've had indoor sections to it, but nothing quite as like detailed or sort of needed kind of as that. I feel like the only one that really we've done it for is the armadillos, and they don't even use it. They do not use their indoor section. So yeah, it was quite fun to kind of create something a little bit like this for them. But yeah, that's what we are working towards. So a few more bits of like planting, ivy and things like that coming through, and now we're creating the skylights in here. Now I didn't really want to create lighting in here for the animals. We do have lighting in sort of the guest area, but I thought that this would be quite a nice sort of private sort of space for them when it's kind of nighttime, that they would be like shut in here. And so I figured a nice kind of private kind of area where there's no light pollution, there's nothing like that for them, I thought would be a perfect little space. I've let down these sort of windows just to let in some sort of natural light come through, which I thought would be a lot better than kind of artificial lighting in here as well. And yeah, these I've not done skylights for a while, so trying to get them to actually work was quite a difficult one. I think the last time I did the skylights, we didn't actually have the thin glass, so yeah, trying to do them with the thin glass was quite different. But we do have the 3 windows in here, and then I place around lots of the sort of plaster roof pieces, as I normally do in here. And then to sort of top it all off, we have added the white kind of beam kind of plaster pieces all the way around the outside as well. I haven't put any external lighting in this yet. I have got to be honest, I have just remembered it. So these are the bits you can see that I said earlier that I've had to add on the outside. You can just sort of see here when I'm placing them all. I've basically just double skimmed it so that it gives a little bit more sort of protection for the rocks and stuff, and they're not sticking out and getting in the way. But yeah, I haven't added any lighting yet. I think that's something I would definitely need to go back through. To be honest, I don't play the game with like day-night cycle on, so for me it doesn't really matter too much. And then obviously when it comes to like the tours and stuff, I did go back through and place lots of sort of street lighting and stuff like that, so I would definitely probably have to do that before the next tour. But yeah, I don't know when we'll do that. I know we've just had a tour, but I don't necessarily know when we'll do the next one. It will probably come maybe when we come up to like the end of stage 4 or 5, because I feel like the next few phases are going to be quite small. As I said earlier, this phase 3 that we're working on, or starting today, has only got 3 habitats in it. So although it does cover a little bit of space, it's not the biggest in terms of like Cream Family Farm big. It's not quite that big. It's gonna be quite a nice simple little area, and I think it's gonna work out really well. Now, I said I have created a sort of separation pen in here, and I've kind of created a bit of a kind of a fenced off area, so you can like open one gate and they can go one way, or you can open another, and to kind of open up different areas to the areas for the sort of keeper to dictate where people or where the animals go. Now the backside, sort of the area separation pen for them, has got the water sort of feeder in it as well, water bowl, and it also has a little pool in it as well. So they do go down there, obviously, if they need a drink or anything like that, which I think makes it a little bit more useful and a little bit more of an area where the animals would actually go to, rather than it just sort of being there and then there's no point the animals going to it. So that's kind of what I have placed around there, and used a lot of the stalactite walls to kind of create a nice little area here for them. And then I wanted there to be viewing areas for the guests, but not that many, if I'm fair. I wanted it to be quite a nice sort of private area. As I said, I wanted people to sort of go into the main sort of like building for them, and also it would give them shade and things like that. But I wanted to not have so much viewing space outside, so I have basically the big water section where you can view them from. Then there are 3 windows, essentially, where you can sort of get peeks sort of through the sort of habitat at different points and at different sort of elevation zones as well, which I think kind of adds a really nice sort of focus to the habitat, because like it would say like make you want to walk all the way around it and not just sort of stand at one and go, oh, there's the animal, I'll take a photo, I'll do this, and then I'm just going to walk away to the next habitat. I kind of want you to walk around the habitat and see it from different angles and different kind of points and things like that, which for me at least is what I would do. Obviously Planet Zoo, once they've seen the animal, they're kind of like, yeah, we've ticked that one off, right on to the next one, which yeah, has its points. But yes, this is the water section. So I just said this is slightly too small for the animals. I have got a male and 2 females in here, and I may end up having to lose one of the females because it is slightly too small for them, but only in their water, so they don't require deep water, they just require water, which proved a bit of a challenge for me to try and create enough water without it being too intimidating. And I think I've just slightly failed on that, because there is a lot of water in here, but it doesn't feel like it's enough. Like it's not enough water, but it looks like it's too much, if that makes any sense to anyone. I've tried to kind of make it as fair as I possibly could, but yeah. Anyway, so I'm trying to create a little bit of sort of protection here for this glass screen. So you can see just how low the water level is here, but then how big the glass screen is. I could have made this lower, But honestly, I actually end up raising it up because it doesn't feel quite right when the people are here. So the animals are still really low to the floor, so it might be a habitat where if you want to see them kind of on the water, you might need to like crouch down towards them rather than sort of see them like straight on. But yeah, I couldn't get it any deeper without changing a lot of the terrain, and it just didn't feel right for me. So yeah, you can sort of see here there is lots of land and then there's lots of water, and we end up placing more water down. But I also wanted the keepers to be able to access this. This is before I realised that the keepers can't get out here, so it doesn't really make any difference for things like that. But yeah, trying to create a nice little bit of texture into the bottom of this sort of pool area here for them, and using lots of the tropical rocks as per usual. I feel like these rocks have a really nice sort of coloration to them, the tropical ones. I feel like they're like really muddy and sort of dirty, which I thought I would quite like the look of, and also because the animals are from a tropical climate, so they would fit in a little bit better in here, especially as we get in a couple of tropical plants. I don't tend to go too heavy with the planting in terms of like tropical plants, because I am also conscious that this is in a temperate zoo, and although yes, some tropical plants would survive, I didn't want it to be too many, so very, very subtly having to do that. And I feel like we kind of use a lot of the same plants we've kind of got everywhere throughout this sort of zoo in here, but you can see lots more rock work coming down, just kind of creating some nice little tiered areas and sort of fully submerging a lot of the rocks into the ground, so it's just like the very top of them sticking through. It just gives you a nice little bit of sort of detail work into there. And now that is the feeder. Now fish have come out of that, so I imagine that staff can be on the guest path and you fill that up again. But you can sort of see I'm placing in some other feeders out here. These are just really play pretend because the keepers, as I say, can't actually get to them, but it gives you the impression that they can be fed from there. So yeah, and now we're using some of the fake rocks, just kind of add a little bit of difference and make it a little bit more different than sort of some of the others, and then lots of the little stones, pebbles and things like that coming through. So yeah, lots of these sort of fake rocks. The animals can actually walk all over them, so there's not too much sort of terrain kind of like clipping or areas where they can't really go, which I thought was quite nice, given the fact that they obviously are low kind of animals. I was kind of expecting to have to come through and remove quite a few of these. Even while I was placing them, I was kind of conscious that I might have to come in and take them out, but they actually did pretty well, which was surprising because I was expecting to have issues. I think the team have really worked on some of like, obviously these aren't new animals, but newer animals when it comes to like their terrain and how like they can sort of walk over things. So, which was a nice surprise, I have to be fair. But yeah, coming in to the sort of planting here, using a few sort of tropical plants, but also lots of sort of the same plants from the grasslands and temperate climates of North and South America. I kind of like the real nice sort of mix that you kind of get with those two kind of biomes, and lots and lots of buffalo grass as per, just sort of sticking out through the grass. I did want this to feel a little bit more dry and a little bit more kind of sandy and kind of deserty than some of the other habitats. So there is less tree cover, which obviously I tend to go for like nice woodland kind of areas, because that's quite like what I like. But yeah, having lots of sort of low planting, or even using sort of the dry or the parched plants, things like that, just to kind of create a really nice difference in here. And yeah, I like this habitat, I have to be fair. It took a while. It took probably in total about a week and a half kind of to come up with at least something for this here, having gone through all of the flamingos, all of the caimans to get this in here, but I'm happy with how we've done it. So if you are too, then you can give it a big thumbs up and comment down below. Tell me what your favourite part is and what you want to see next. And yeah, you can also subscribe to my channel. You would all mean so very, very much to me. But you can also follow me on pretty much all social medias. The links to all of those are down in the description, so you can check those out as well. But for now, thank you all for joining me. I hope you've had a good time. But until next week, stay happy and stay building. Alright, bye everyone!